This video is part 2 on defining functions and calling functions. So just to do a quick recap, in the last video we saw this function called print lyrics, which printed 2 lines of this poem or story. And then we had another function, repeat lyrics, which called this function print lyrics twice within its body. So uh, just to introduce some terminology, the first line in the definition of the function is called the header of the function, and then the lines after the colon that are indented are called the body of the function. And those are the lines of code that get executed when the function is called. So header of the function, body of the function. Header of this function, body of the function. Both these functions had empty parentheses, which meant that when these functions are called, so here's examples of how we call these functions. We don't write anything inside the parentheses. We write the name of the function, open, close parentheses. Name of the function, open, close parentheses. And that's how we call them. And then we saw what the output is. So just a quick review, the syntax for defining functions, you write the word def, which is a keyword that indicates that this is a function definition. The name of the function is print lyrics, as we saw. The rules for function names are the same as for variable names. Letters, numbers, and some punctuation marks are legal, but the first character can't be a number. You can have an underscore. You cannot use a keyword as the name of a function. And also don't name your functions with the same name as another variable that you might have in your code. So use a different name. Now the empty parentheses after the function name here in the definition indicates that this function doesn't take any arguments. Arguments are what you write inside the parentheses when you call the function. So there's nothing here, right, when you're calling the function. And that matches because there's nothing inside the parentheses in the definition. So it means these functions, when they were defined, it said, I don't need anything to be sent to me when you call me. The first line of the function definition is called the header and the rest is called the body. The header has to end with a colon and the body has to be indented. The body can have any number of statements. Okay, so that is a recap of the last video. Now we are going to look at another function where if you look at the definition here really quickly, there is something inside the parentheses, and that means that when you call this function, you have to give it something inside the parentheses. You have to give it a value inside the parentheses. So I'm going to type this from scratch. So let me open my Python new window and I'm going to start defining this function. So def, the name of the function is say hello to, and it has one input that you need some variable name, and we'll just call it name because you're going to say hello to somebody, right? So we can call it name. You can call it person if you want. You're going to say hello to a person, and then colon, and then you hit enter and it's going to indent. I just want to show you that if you forget the colon and you hit enter, it lines it up to the beginning of the line, which is not what we want. So now we want to type the body of this function, and all this function wants to do is say hello to whoever's name is sent to it when it's called. So I want to print hello, hello, and then the name of that person. And I hit enter, and I hit enter one more time, and then I hit backspace to line it up. So that's my function definition. And now I want to call this function, and I can call the function as many times as I want. So say hello to, I have to be careful that I type it exactly, and it's telling me that this needs exactly one X, right? One thing. So I'm going to say hello to Mary, and then I want to say hello to Andrew, and then I want to say hello to no one. Okay, so let's say these are 3 different function calls, right? I've defined the function once and I can call it many times. Let's run this and see what happens. I need to save this and let me save it as test. Okay, and what do I see here? I see hello Mary, hello Andrew, and hello no one, exactly as expected, right? So now let me explain some terminology here. So what is this? This is a definition of a function. The name of the function is say hello to, and the function has one parameter. What is a parameter? Whatever we write inside the parentheses when we are defining the function. This is a variable. So let me write some context. Comments here. Name is the parameter of this function, and it is a variable. So what do we know about variables? Variables get their values. Variables have values. So if this is not a comment in, no wonder, that's a comment in Java. Okay, now this is a comment. Name is a parameter of this function, and it is a variable. Right? Doesn't it look like a variable when we say hello, comma, name of a variable, right? So it is a variable. Now these are the function calls. So this is a function call, and so are the ones below that. And Mary, in this function call, Mary is the argument to the function. What's the name of the function? Say hello to. Okay. Here, what's the argument? Andrew is the argument. The string Andrew, capital A N D R E W, is an argument. And argument. And then if I write another comment here, what's the argument in this function call? The argument is the string no space 1 all lowercase, right? That is the argument. So the parameter is the name of a variable in the definition of the function inside the parentheses. It shows up inside the parentheses. The argument is what we write inside the parentheses when we call the function. So remember this terminology. Argument is in the function call. Parameter is written once in the function definition, and a parameter is a variable. And when you call the function, the first time I call it, the value of name is the string Mary. The second time I call it, the value of name is the string Andrew. The third time I call it, the value of the variable name is the string no one, right? So the parameter gets its value from the argument. Parameter gets its value, comment. Parameter gets its value from the argument when the function is what? Is called. So let's see some other ways for calling this function, because this function has an input, right? It has a single parameter. So when we call this function say hello to with an integer, not a string, what do you think? And how about this? Can I say I can ask somebody for their name through an input statement? I can store that in the variable your name and then say hello to the variable. Can I say hello to this variable your name? So there are two different ways of calling this function. I can give it an integer. I can give it a variable whose value came from an input step. So let's run this and see if all of this will work. So the first thing is, what did it do? Let's take a look. It ran. It said hello Mary, hello Andrew, hello no one. This function call also worked. It did say hello to 11123, and now it's at the input step and it's asking me for what's your name, and I'm just going to pretend that I am you know who, and it says hello to whatever I typed in as input. So these are additional ways of calling functions. right? You don't have to always write an actual value, a literal value. Yes, you can. You can write another literal value. Remember, Python doesn't worry about the type. Whatever I write here, as long as it's syntactically correct, it would work. This would not work if I did the following. If I put a space here and I didn't want the comma and I wanted a plus, then you know this is not going to work, right? Because then it's going to try and do math. So let me show you that. I run that and you can see that it crashed when it tried to do this. Say hello to can't convert int object to a string implicitly. So that didn't work. But if I comment that out, so as long as I use it with strings, because now I have a plus sign in my print step over there, it's going to say, let me run it again, run module again so we can see it from the top. And it does hello Mary, hello Andrew, hello no one. I've commented out the integer. What's your name? My name is Sandra B, and it says hello to Sandra B. So you can give it an integer if I didn't have the plus sign, and you can give it a variable name as long as that that variable has a value, and it does have a value. Its value is coming from that input step. So when it does this function call, say hello to your name, what is the value of the parameter name? It's the same as the value of the variable your name. It matches up your name with name, and it takes the value of your name, which was Sandra B in this example, and that becomes a value. So value of your name, remember your name is a variable, becomes the value of name, and that's how it works.